go for the final time. We are free! Oh, they make contact! A terrible crash! And good evening, everybody, and welcome here as we get back on track for race number 6 of the final season, Season 10 of the SRA Snickers Cup Series. After the fail last week of confusing the weekends of Atlanta and Watkins Glen, naming them both as weekend number 4, we are finally getting ready here to get ourselves back on track, regroup, and give you the scenario heading into tonight's race at Phoenix International Raceway. This is going to be interesting, too, because we're nighttime racing at Phoenix, a track which normally when the sun is beating on it with the desert heat out here, it's extremely slick, but these drivers may find a little bit of unexpected grip in tonight's track, and it may come about bringing out a great finish in tonight's race. 47 laps on tap for tonight's event, and Anthony McCrory will start on the pole position alongside of John Cittadino. McCrory trying to be the first Audi to go to victory lane this season. He would be the only Audi as well, since he's the only Audi in this field. John Cittadino trying to become the 4th Chevrolet driver to go to victory lane this season in 6 races, and also looking for his first win of Season 10, as Cittadino and McCrory both come into this race in 2 different places in points. McCrory is outside of the top 35 in points, so he desperately needs a good run. John Cittadino, though, trying to work his way into the top 10 in points. He just fell out of the top 10 in points after last week's race at Watkins Glen. He's now 11th in the standings, but now he's going to try and work his way back in with a potential victory. Benjamin Miles makes up row 2. Benjamin Miles is coming into this race currently sitting 24th in points and had a great run last week at Watkins Glen, which moved him up to there in the points. And alongside of him, our winner 2 weeks ago from Atlanta, Tim Walsh, looking for his second win of the season. Walsh did not have the best of runs last week at the Glen, fell to 24th in the point standings. Another thing that happened last week was Joshua Collard took the points lead over Trent Dunham, losing the points lead for the first time this season since winning the Daytona 500. So Joshua Collard on top of the point standings, ahead of Michael Norman by 9 points, 10 points then over Trent Dunham. And then Seth Cole and Lyndon Wright both moved up 3 spots last week to 4th and 5th in points. They are 16 and 28 points out, respectively. Rest of the top 10 in points come in tonight's race. Charles Sanford, Johnny Gardner, Kyle Matthews, Dylan Poteet, and James Sowerfox moved his way up into the top 10 after last week's event at the Glen. As far as drivers that are currently in the potential hunt for this season's chase for the championship, of course, the Daytona 500 winner, Trent Dunham, 2-time winner of the season, Dylan Poteet, our winner from Atlanta, Tim Walsh, and last week's winner on fuel mileage at the Glen, Jessica Shelton. So in 5 races, we have 4 potential drivers trying to get themselves spots in this season's chase for the championship. Will we see a 5th one take place here tonight, or could one of the 4 drivers that I just mentioned go to victory lane for yet another time and maybe solidify themselves a spot in this season's chase for the championship? We're getting ready to go, though. We're going to go down trackside. He's never made an NNSCRA, Snickers, Oreo, or Mobile and Cup Series start, but he is an NNSCRA online race driver. Please welcome Phoenix native Jacob Crago as he's going to deliver tonight's most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Pace car rolls off. Anthony McCrory and John Cittadino will follow it off. We'll show you your starting lineup for tonight's race here at Phoenix International Raceway. One thing about this particular Phoenix is that this track does not always cater to the inside line. A lot of times in practice, we saw drivers moving up a groove or two, trying to get some grip on the high side. And we saw a couple of drivers actually be able to get the run off of turn 2 and off of turn 4 via the high side. So we'll see if that comes into play in tonight's race at all. McCrory, Citadino, Miles, they've not been to victory lane yet this season. Tim Walsh has. He's actually the only driver starting in the top 10 that has found victory lane so far this year. As here we go. 47 laps await us. Pace car is off. Anthony McCrory for Kyotech Racing gets us underway. We are green here tonight at Phoenix. McCrory wasted no time whatsoever getting himself to the front. Benjamin Miles was right there with him, and he's going to go for second place off of John Citadino. Tim Walsh moving up the groove there, so trying to find that grip we talked about coming off of turn 4. As McCrory, by a huge margin right out of the gate, is going to lead this race. Benjamin Miles now clears for second. Austin LaPlante looking 3 wide for third. Underneath both Tim Walsh and John Citadino. Trying to make it stick. Whoa! Contact there between himself and Walsh. Walsh almost up into Citadino. Nice job of keeping it together by those guys. It looks like Walsh is going to be able to clear Citadino. Now we're back to 2x2 racing. It was a gutsy move by Austin LaPlante and a great piece of driving by Tim Walsh, who was in the most difficult spot in all of that, in the middle. His car was weaving left and right, and he had to make sure he didn't get into Austin LaPlante or John Citadino, or that could have triggered a pretty big wreck right up here at the very front of this field. Bob Jones now moves into the 5th position behind Tim Walsh. Zach Buchanan now up to 6th. And somehow, someway, we're still green. There's Charles Samper. Well, there were some skid marks. Skid marks in turn 3. But there's no caution out. We find out who that involved. Well, all these guys back here are just at the tail end of the pack. James McLeod, Nathan Hudson, Dylan Poteet, so whoever it was, they hung on to it. Watching right here as Miles goes through this corner. Oh, now the skid marks aren't there. I thought I saw some skid marks there. Maybe not. There is Charles Samper, who did not have the best of runs last week at the Glen. He was pretty much one of the top 5 most favorite drivers to win last week at the Glen. But he wasn't able to come through. Samper finds himself 6th in the point standings, 28 points out. Right now trying to run down John Citadino. That would be for position number 7. There's Dollarton right behind him. Dollarton, at 33, has worked his way all the way up in the standings to... So where is he now? Oh, wait a minute. No, never mind. I'm thinking of somebody else. I thought Dollarton was up there in the points, but actually he's outside the top 35 in standings, so this is a good run for him anyway. Definitely a well-needed run for that team. Trying to get themselves back into the top 35. Remember, in order to clinch a chase spot this season, you have to have a win, but you also have to be inside the top 30 in points. Zach Buchanan going underneath the Bob Jones. That is a battle for the 5th position. Buchanan will clear for the position heading into one, it looks like. Now Charles Samper going to follow in line. Battle on for the 3rd position. Wow. Benjamin Miles driving it hard down the back straightaway. Not going to be able to do it. I'm sorry, that's actually for the 2nd position. Like I said, it was for 3rd. It's all going on behind Anthony McCrory, though, who has opened the distance to almost a full second between himself and the new 2nd place driver, Austin LaPlante. I'm looking and I'm not seeing some of these guys that I mentioned in the top 5 in points coming into this race. I do not see any of them up inside the top 10. Let's see who the highest running of the top 5 in points is at this moment. There it is right there, I believe. Joshua Collard currently scored in the 21st position. Trying to fight his way through traffic here. There's Seth Cole. Currently scored 25th. Seth Cole coming in fourth in the points. And there's Trent Dunham in a hornet's nest here, along with last week's winner, Jessica Shelton. And there's Michael Norman as well. So they're second and third in points, Norman and Dunham. Dunham scored 26th. Norman, going 3 wide there, is scored in 31st. And there's Lyndon Wright, fifth in points, back in the 34th position. So a number of drivers running really well in points, mired back in traffic here. One thing about Phoenix, though, is it is a fuel mileage pit strategy kind of track, so with the fact that we've gone green flag since the start of this race, we could end up seeing green flag pit stops and some kind of strategy played out here. Been a lot of strategy this season. Just in the last 2 weeks, there has been strategy that has played out. You had Tim Walsh do strategy of pitting a couple of laps early, taking the win as a result in Atlanta. Jessica Shelton deciding to stretch it on fuel last week at the Glen. That put her in victory lane, and now we're set up potentially for maybe another fuel strategy, pit strategy type race here at Phoenix. Watching Michael Norman really making some dicey moves here. Now going to go to the inside of Trent Dunham. Almost, I think they made some contact there. Trent getting punted up the track a little out of turn 1. Meanwhile, Anthony McCurry loving these green flag conditions because he continues to grow his advantage over Austin LaPlante, this time 1.25 seconds. Remains that this lap, so LaPlante now running identical lap times as McCurry. Last time by, McCurry ran a 22.568, LaPlante a 22.624. See if he closes it up at all this time. That time he did by about 6/100ths, now 1.19. He's going to have his hands full in just a moment, possibly. Tim Walsh starting to reel in the Smithfield Ford. There's another driver I just noticed popped up into the top 10. It's having a good run. How about the 16 of Ryan Acosta? Right now he's scored in that 10th position. Ryan Acosta coming into this race 18th in the point standings. Moved 3 spots up after last week's race at Watkins Glen. Having a really good run and doing really well right now in that Ortho Bug Killer number 4, or number 4, Ford Fusion I meant to say, out of Acosta Motorsports. There's Chris Washer. That's another driver that's needing a good run here. Washer coming into this race 15th in the point standings. He picked up 5 spots after last week's race at the Glen, so his quest to make the top 10, right now he's looking pretty good. There is DJ Curtis right now in 13th place. Both he and Austin Mongold have been impressive this season. If one doesn't do so well, the other one seems to do really exemplary. Right now, DJ Curtis, the one of the rookies that's doing really good here tonight at Phoenix. He and Mongold are both in a very fierce battle for Rookie of the Year honors, and we're only into race number 6 this season. See side by side right now, the 88 of Cole Daly. Daly's been on a bit of a skid lately. So is Cody Lamas. Both he and Lamas lost multiple spots in the points last week. They find themselves 32nd and 33rd in points. Richard Johnson moving to 15th, bypassing last year's champion, Brandon Gonzalez. Richard Johnson just moved himself into the top 35 last week in the Glen, in the 35th position. And Brandon Gonzalez last week dropped in the standings to 19th. Austin LaPlante, he little by little was gaining on Anthony McCurry, but not anymore. He's now almost a full 2.5 seconds back behind Anthony McCurry, as we saw a battle just there heating up between Charles Sanford and Zach Buchanan. That's gone away now. Sanford back to 6th. Ryan Acosta now looking for the 7th position off of Bob Jones. John Cittadino started 2nd, and he's lost a couple of spots since the start of this race. He's all the way back now to the 9th position, about to maybe lose that to Chris Washer. Whoa, we got trouble on the front straightaway. Johnny Gardner on pit road, Danny Wells and several others Caution flag is out for the first time here tonight on lap 25. An incident on the front straightaway, and I saw at least 3, maybe 4 cars on pit road. Gardner being one of them, 7th in points. Danny Wells as well. Don't rightly know who else was in it. Oh, Trent Dunham! And whoever else was in it has already retired from this race. James Silverfox was collected in it. Just got his way into the top 10 in points last week at the Glen. Now is probably going to fall out of it. And Trent Dunham, 2 straight weeks of bad luck for him. As you can see, the skid marks out of 4. And the leaders are all going to come to pit road here. So they may be good to go the rest of the way. They made it a full 26 laps on 1 tank of fuel. That would mean they'd be able to stretch at least to lap 52, maybe further, and we do not have 52 scheduled laps in this race. So this is when the strategy might happen. Will somebody try and roll the dice to gain track position? McCrory is down and away. That's it for him. LaPlante just almost was going to beat him out. Sanford out 3rd. Tim Walsh is 4th. 5th place, Dollarton. 6th place, Ryan Acosta. Then Buchanan, Lamas, DJ Curtis, and I believe Cole Daly come out in the top 10. John Cittadino, a very long pit stop, is going to cost him a couple of spots and drop him outside of the top 10. So Anthony McCrory leads under our first caution. Let's take a look and see what happened. This one occurred just outside of the top 20 and right in front of the points leader Joshua Collard. Johnny Gardner, I think a tire might have gone down on his machine. It seemed like it did not want to turn there heading into 4. And James Silverfox, wrong place, wrong time, just kind of hooked the 10 up into the outside retaining wall, and then this isn't over. Johnny Gardner's car going to come right back down in front of traffic. Trent Dunham nowhere to go, then gets nailed from behind by his teammate Danny Wells. Lyndon Wright going to get a piece of that as well. So that right there is 4 drivers make that came into the top 10 in points. And everybody scatters to try and avoid. William Duncan comes to a dead stop in order to get by these guys. Boy, that is a hard hit for Johnny Gardner. Trent Dunham, Lyndon Wright potentially damaged. James Silverfox. Like I said, 4 drivers in the top 10 getting damaged from that. And Danny Wells, 20th in points, had already had hard luck last week at the Glen. Finds hard luck again here tonight. And for Trent Dunham, things just going south in a major hurry. Last week at the Glen, he loses the points lead for the first time this season, and now he finds himself with a potential DNF here tonight at Phoenix. But a wild ride there for Johnny Gardner. We're definitely going to have to get confirmation on what happened to that car, because that car just did not turn. Car went straight up the track there in the middle of 3 and 4. Possible tire, I would assume, but it could be something else too. But that is what put us under the caution here for the first time here tonight, just past the halfway point here at Phoenix. We have been given the 1 to go signal. We'll go back green on lap 29 of 47. According to my calculations, that should give us a total of 17 laps to go. So Anthony McCrory is the leader. He was the last person, I think, that wanted to see that caution flag, because he had a nice advantage between himself and second place Austin LaPlante, but now everything is back up together, and maybe interesting to see what McCrory's going to be able to do. He'll have the lap machine of Trent Dunham underneath him. Dunham just trying to salvage what he can. So LaPlante will line up second, Sanford in third, Tim Walsh 4th, Chris Dollarton now 5th. That's Ryan Acosta, Zach Buchanan, Cody Lamas, DJ Curtis, and Cole Daly. That's the way they came off pit road. That's the way they will restart this race. Drivers out of the race, 3 of them in total: Johnny Gardner, Danny Wells, and James Silverfox. Trent Dunham will be 2 laps down on this restart. And Trent could be a bit of an obstacle here on this restart, as McCrory is gone again. Identical restart from what he did at the very start of this race. Jumps right out in front, and LaPlante did not get going, and Charles Sanford is going to try and capitalize as he'll try and move to second. LaPlante got a nice run there into 3. Can he carry it out of 4 as his car looked a little squirrely? Sanford still remains alongside. Battle continues for the second position here. As McCrory is hoping these guys race each other hard so he can get by it. I think they're just slowing down. I think we're under caution again. We are. And I have to assume it would have to be because of something that happened with the one of Trent Dunham. And the points leader, Joshua Collard, is collected in it, along with Bob Jones and Kyle Matthews. Sean Galligan also appears to be damaged. Nobody on pit road, but the caution out again, and this is basically the old cliche, cautions breed cautions, especially when the race begins to wind down. So we're under the yellow for the second time here tonight in the matter of about roughly 7 laps. Anthony McCrory going to lead us once again. Maybe it's not so bad for him being under these caution laps because he gets really good restarts. Got the yellow flag out nonetheless. Let's jump back and see what happened involving the points leader, Joshua Collard, and a couple of others. Well, this was heading into turn number 3. Now, everybody was trying to maneuver their way around Trent Dunham, but I'm not really sure Trent was a factor in this. So you watch right here, Joshua Collard jumps up to the high side in order to go around some drivers, and I don't think Kyle Matthews realized Collard was up there, and he moves up the track, and the two of them are going to hook each other. And then Collard gets turned back down the track, and that's where you find Bob Jones. Right in front of Richard Johnson, also in front of Michael Norman. Norman going to try and avoid his team. I think Norman may have gotten a piece of that. I don't know how much damage he got, but I think he didn't. Then he gets sideswiped by his other teammate, Dougie Shears, and then there's Galligan. Contact there with the right front as well, and Michael Norman made some contact with the right front as well on his machine. There were just some communication problems there, apparently. I don't think Matthews realized that Collard was coming on the high side, and that Collard had such a big run heading into 3. And that is what happened there. But if you look at it from a points perspective, we know Michael Norman gets a slight piece of it. He came in second in points. Collard, as I mentioned, the points leader, and Kyle Matthews came into this race 8th in points. So a lot of drivers that came in running well in the standings here late in this race at Phoenix are finding some pretty substantial difficulties. Only time will tell what the end result will be once we get done with this race. So we'll get ready for yet another restart, this time on lap 34 of 47. That should give us 14 laps remaining in tonight's race. Anthony McCrory continues to lead. He has led every single lap so far here tonight, and he has undoubtedly been the strongest car of the evening. Austin LaPlante lines up second, third Charles Sanford, fourth Tim Walsh, and fifth Chris Dalton. The rest of the top 10 pretty much look the same. Ryan Acosta, Zach Buchanan, Cody Lamas, Cole Daly now has moved up to 9th, and Levi McIntyre now completes the top 10 as DJ Curtis has fallen outside of the top 10 since the last restart. Trent Dunham will line up on the inside line once again. 2 laps down still to the leaders, since there is more than 10 laps remaining. As far as the drivers involved in that, none of them went behind the wall, but Galligan, Matthews, Collard, and Bob Jones will all start from 35th on back through 38th for this restart. So here we go, Anthony McCrory. Let's see if he can get another of those good restarts, and he does, but this time LaPlante seemed to get is just as good a one. I think that time McCrory didn't fool anybody, and here comes LaPlante to the inside for the lead right out of the gate. McCrory had worked for him twice, but that time LaPlante had read McCrory's playbook, and McCrory about to lose the lead for the first time tonight, going to try and battle back on the high side, but LaPlante may have the advantage. Coming down here out of 4 at the line, he's going to lead. So new leader Austin LaPlante for the first time tonight by 2 100ths over McCrory, and now McCrory's in big trouble as now LaPlante has cleared him. McCrory thought about a crossover there on the back straightaway, but not going to do it. Up, caution out again. Caution waving one more time. Another incident on the front straightaway. Looks like from the smoke and the skid marks, possibly a solo car spin off of turn 4. And cautions continue to breed cautions here at Phoenix. Oh, Richard Johnson disabled on the back straightaway, and there's smoke ahead. That's Bob Jones. Second straight incident he's been involved in. And that was a guy that was up inside the top 10 at the beginning of this thing. Johnson on pit road. Was anybody else involved? It doesn't look like it. They're backing into each other here under pacing. I think William Duncan's got some damage now on the left side of his machine. Everybody else, for the most part, looks okay. Something tells me that maybe Richard Johnson may have been the one that spun out, and then in an effort to catch back up, he might have run into the back of Bob Jones. But we have a new leader here tonight at Phoenix. It's Austin LaPlante in the 43, capitalizing on timing the restart just right and getting by Anthony McCrory. At the line, it'll be 10 to go. We will get back green, but the way the cautions continue to come out one after the other, the question is, will we be seeing this race end under the yellow flag? Let's look back at a replay of what happened. Well, coming off turn number 4, things really bunched up again, partly due to the fact that Trent Dunham was up ahead and everybody was trying to get by the slower damaged machine. Let's see where the contact began. Oh, Jacob Lawler. Lawler came up into Richard Johnson, makes contact with James McLeod as well. It's one problem here with Phoenix. It's very difficult to tell if you're clear on somebody or not. And I think Lawler felt he was clear on Richard Johnson, was going to move up right behind him, and unfortunately was not clear of the Kingsford Chevrolet. And then this was when the yellow flag had come out. Richard Johnson, I don't think he realized everybody was still up here, that they were slowing down. He's still full speed, tries to get on the brakes, but it's too late, and clobbers into the back of Bob Jones. Bob Jones was already damaged but was still running. I don't think that's going to be the case now, as his car left that scene smoking. And Bob Jones and Richard Johnson both, I think their nights are over. Richard Johnson, we just mentioned, moved into the top 35 in points. Bob Jones was 21st in the standings coming into tonight's race. So both of them going to take hard hits in the point stands as a result of the event that just took place here at Phoenix. Let's go back now, find out how many laps we're going to have left to finish this thing, and if we're going to finish this thing under the green flag, or will it be a race to the next caution that may end this thing? It'll be 8 laps to go when we get to the stripe and get back under the restart. The question is, though, are we racing for the checkers, or are we racing for the next yellow flag? I'm not certain, but I think if a quick caution comes out, we may have enough for a green-white checkered or a one-lap shootout, enough laps to run in order to get back green at least one more time. But if these cars reach somewhere around 5 to go, then basically if the caution comes out, the race would be over under yellow. Austin LaPlante was the hunter for most of these restarts, now the hunted. McCrory now in second. Third, Charles Sanford, Tim Walsh fourth, Chris Dollerton fifth. And then it'll be Ryan Acosta, Zach Buchanan, Cole Daly, Cody Lamas now up in the top 10 and 9th, and Brandon Gonzalez now is in the 10th position. So, we know how good McCrory has been on restarts, but LaPlante got just as good a restart as McCrory did on the last time they went back green. What's going to happen this time? Here we go. Green flag is out. McCrory was an interesting little jerk right there. I think he was trying to fake out LaPlante, maybe make him think he was going to the inside, but now he is going to the inside. That's not a fake out at all. So McCrory trying to go back for the lead on Austin LaPlante. Charles Sanford trying to see which line opens up. He almost opened the door for Tim Walsh. Now slams the door, and now the caution flag is out again. Here they come to the line. This time McCrory leads it. And the caution waves once again. That's our 4th straight caution. And this time it was McCrory out-dueling Austin LaPlante. Skid marks on the back straightaway this time. Right in the broken straightaway there. And this time it involves more drivers inside the top 10 in points. Michael Norman 2nd in points. Kyle Matthews 8th in the standings. This race continues to play a major factor in the top 10 in points, and there's another driver top 10 in points. Lyndon Wright, 5th in the standings, collected in this one. Trent Dunham on pit road again. It may have been something started with his machine. At the line, we have a total of 6 to go. I think we'll get back green, but the question is, how many laps will be left, and will we have any potentiality of the race still ending under yellow? We'll find out in just a moment. Let's take a look at a replay of what put us under our 4th caution of the evening here at Phoenix. Now let's see what happened. Watch up ahead. 57 of Sean Henley trying to go to the inside of his teammate Trent Dunham. He's got Lyndon Wright in his back bumper. And yeah, just going to hook the one of Henley, or the one of Dunham, I should say. Clips Lyndon Wright. James Qualls gets a piece of it there in the 70. And Lyndon Wright's going to come right back up the racetrack. But it's not him that gets Norman. It's Dunham, and then Kyle Matthews nowhere to go as well. All those drivers caught in the high line, just absolutely nowhere to go. Joshua Collard able to avoid. Boy. And the one thing I think that was the problem for Sean Henley was the fact that the one of Trent Dunham had such a messed up rear end. Could have very likely bumper grabbed some of the damaged part of that back bumper, and that might have been what caused him to turn Trent Dunham, because I don't think he intentionally turned his teammate. I think he might have locked onto a piece of the sheet metal that was sticking out of the back of Trent Dunham's Rainick Chevrolet, and that's what caused him to turn him around. But boy, right there, you got Dunham, Norman, Lyndon Wright, and Kyle Matthews, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 8th in points, all collected in that incident. We ran 25 laps of green flag racing, and now everything has completely disintegrated here at Phoenix. As this race winds down, let's go back for what could potentially be our final restart of the night. When we go back green, it'll be 3 laps to go, which means that anything that happens to bring out a yellow flag, they'll race it back to the line. The first one back to the stripe will be declared the winner under caution. Now, Austin LaPlante and Anthony McCurry have been having a nice little game of cat and mouse every time we've gone under one of these restarts. 2 restarts ago, Austin LaPlante made the move on McCurry, led under the last restart, but then McCurry was able to pounce and take the lead back, and now leads under this caution for this restart. So now the question is LaPlante going to be up to the task again? And you got to think Charles Sanford, Tim Walsh, they've been running 3rd and 4th for most of these restarts. They've got to have some kind of strategy in mind to try and maybe be factors in this as well, as they're all trying to battle for what would be their first win of the season. For Tim Walsh, he's trying to get his 2nd win of the year in that 15 car. Top 10 basically looks the same, only difference, Brandon Gonzalez out of 10th, Joshua Michaels into 10th as we get ready to go back green for 3 laps of racing. Remember, if the caution comes out, they race back to the line. The race is over at the stripe. Here we go. Green flag is out. This time, McCurry did not get the jump again. LaPlante stuck with him. Charles Sanford kind of hanging back there a little bit on this restart. And here comes LaPlante for the lead once again. Shades of 2 restarts ago. McCurry was not able to hang on the high side the last time. Will he be able to this time? Drives it hard into 3 as he tries to get the run out of 4. No caution. We're still green, so they've been able to manage to keep it green at least 1 lap this time. 2 to go here. LaPlante trying to get the advantage on the inside. McCurry battling hard on the high sides. Here comes Sanford into the mix now. Now it's a 3-car fight at the front. Tim Walsh may not be out of this yet, too. He may be able to get up here. Look at how Anthony McCurry's arcing it into turn 3. Getting a huge run there on the high side. At the line, drag race to the line. Half a car length McCurry. White flag in the air, 1 to go. Sanford, will he make a 3-wide move? Inside line LaPlante. Outside line McCurry. LaPlante led at 2 to go. McCurry led at 1 to go. Who's going to lead the checkered flag lap? Let's see if McCurry drives it hard into 3. Yes, he does. Now is he going to be able to get the run out of 4? Side by side. LaPlante, McCurry, drag race to the line. It's going to be Austin LaPlante by a splitter, taking the checkered flag here tonight at Phoenix in a photo finish of 1/100th of a second. Undoubtedly the 2 strongest cars of the evening, the 2 that have messed with each other psychologically all night long. It came down between those 2 and a splitter between them, coming to the checkered flag Austin LaPlante, a driver who has spent much of his career in the Mobil 1 Cup Series and Oreo Truck Series, comes here for the final season of Snickers Cup and takes the checkered flag here tonight in race number 6 at Phoenix. And a track that normally is not known for its close finishes, Phoenix does not disappoint tonight. It took us several caution flags, several restarts to get to this point, but man, what a finish at the end. And we have our 5th different race winner in 6 races with the Ford out of Richard Petty Motorsports. The legendary 43 is back in victory lane. McCrory, oh so close. But that one little slip up coming out of 4 was what cost him. And Austin LaPlante was able to ring up the inside line out of 4 just enough to get McCrory at the line. That must have been fun for Charles Sanford to watch behind them. He'll get 3rd place, so a solid run for him. One of the few drivers in the top 10 in points tonight that actually had a decent finish. Tim Walsh going to finish in 4th, Zach Buchanan in 5th, Ryan Acosta 6th, Chris Dollerton 7th. We've got to give a shout out to the 09, 16, and 33 because they kept their cars in the top 10 all night long. Cody Lamas going to get 8th, a great run for him. Joshua Michaels worked his way up to 9th to finish out tonight's race. And completing the top 10 was Cole Daly in the 88. But the question remains, who's going to be the points leader heading into next week's race? Because Joshua Collard finished the race damaged, Michael Norman finished the race damaged, Trent Dunham finished out of the race, I believe. Seth Cole never made an appearance in the top 10. Lyndon Wright was involved in a wreck. Charles Sanford mired down 28 points out, finishing in 3rd. Then you got Johnny Gardner out of the race, Kyle Matthews damaged, Dylan Pote never made an appearance up at the front, and James Silverfox also finished out of the race. So the question is, what's the points going to look like heading next week? Does Collard still have it? Is Michael Norman going to take it over? Has Charles Sanford close enough to be able to take it over with his 3rd place finish? We'll find all that out same time you do right after this. Thank you all so much for watching tonight's race at Phoenix. We now have another driver that has placed his name in the hat for a potential spot in this season's Snickers Cup Series chase for the championship, that being former Mobil Cup Series champion Austin LaPlante. If you enjoyed tonight's race at Phoenix, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. Here comes your official full finish results from tonight's race at Phoenix, your rookie points, and your overall points heading into next week. As you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA, Offline Racing, at its best, good evening from Tweenies. I was attacked by the mafia and a serial killer, and I was haunted by the jester. I died.
Oh, what?
Whoa!
What?
The arson.
Whoa!
Stop it, a whammy, a big whammy.
An arsonist! The arsonist won!
Oh, you can lick the tears. They taste good. He doesn't know you. Where are you going? Can I leave now?